Hollywood's golden age wasn't just about dazzling lights, big dreams, and red carpets. Behind the scenes, some of its brightest stars were hustling in ways the public never imagined. Want to know who was supplying more than just movie magic to their friends? Which A-listers were risking it all, turning their side doors into secret pharmacies? Let's pull back the velvet curtain and dig into the wildest, most whispered chapter in old Hollywood's dark history. Are you ready for a list that will shatter your idea of classic stardom? Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn was the original Hollywood daredevil, a man who lived as fast off-screen as he did in front of the camera. Flynn's wild exploits are legendary: booze-fueled brawls, globe-trotting affairs, and parties that made studio bosses sweat. But there was another side to his reputation that almost nobody dared say out loud. Flynn wasn't just indulging, he was allegedly supplying. Gossip swirled that his famous Caribbean trips weren't just for fun in the sun. Studio insiders claimed Flynn often returned from his travels with gifts for his closest friends, high-grade party favors that couldn't be found at the local pharmacy. These weren't innocent souvenirs. Word was he'd quietly share his supply at private gatherings, making his home the go-to for anyone in Hollywood looking to escape their troubles or spice up a dull weekend. Of course, nothing was ever proven in court. But the rumors about Flynn's side hustle never really faded, even after he was gone. He left behind a legend as much for his off-screen dealings as for his action-packed roles. Judy Garland. Judy Garland's life was a tightrope walk between public adoration and private struggle. While millions fell in love with her voice and innocent charm, those closest to her knew about the dark spiral happening behind the curtain. Garland's dependency on pills is well documented, but there was another, less innocent layer to the story. According to whispers from MGM insiders, Judy became a key source for prescription pills among young actresses, desperately trying to keep up with brutal studio schedules. She wasn't just sharing her own stash, she was quietly helping others get hooked up, acting as a connector between desperate performers and shady doctors or secret suppliers. Some say it started out of kindness, trying to help friends survive the grind. But in a world where favors meant everything, Garland's quiet sideline kept her circle tight and her influence even tighter. The result? Hollywood's brightest star ended up casting the longest shadow, not just for her talent, but for her part in fueling the industry's hidden habit. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead was as bold as her name. She was famous for her razor-sharp wit, brash attitude, and absolutely wild parties. But Bankhead wasn't just out to shock the public with her words. She was rumored to be the person you called if you needed a little chemical help before a big audition or after a long shoot. Thanks to her European travels and blue blood connections, Tallulah had access to the finest and rarest medications that never appeared in any studio doctor's bag. According to studio gossip, she'd return from London or Paris with more than just fancy hats in her luggage. Friends claimed she'd supply her inner circle with whatever would take the edge off, making her both the life of the party and the unofficial supplier of the day. She never got caught, but her willingness to push boundaries went way beyond words. Bankhead's legacy is one of unfiltered honesty and, if the stories are true, some very discreet deals in the shadows. Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi terrified audiences as Dracula, but his real-life struggles were even more haunting. Lugosi's addiction to morphine was never really a secret in old Hollywood, but there's a twist the public rarely heard. To fund his growing dependency, Lugosi reportedly became a key player in the industry's underground pharmacy. Co-stars and crew whispered that if you needed something to dull your pain or calm your nerves, Bela could connect you, sometimes at a steep markup. His contacts in local clinics and with stage doctors meant Lugosi became more than just another troubled star. He was part of the silent engine keeping Hollywood's hidden habits running. Some say he did it out of desperation. Some say for extra cash when roles dried up. Either way, Lugosi's side job fed a reputation that was just as chilling as any horror film. In the end, he played a real-life villain, only this time, his impact lasted long after the curtain fell. Mae West. Mae West wasn't just a queen of double entendre. She knew how to play the angles on and off the screen. With her saucy lines and legendary confidence, Mae made waves wherever she went. But the rumors said she did more than just deliver punchy comebacks. West's glamorous penthouse was said to be a safe haven for struggling actors, but what they really sought was the quiet comfort of her hidden stash. Studio gossips whispered that May always had something special for those in her inner circle, whether that meant painkillers to take the edge off a tough shoot or sleeping pills to combat Hollywood insomnia. Some insiders even believed she had a piece of the city's backroom pharmacy business, investing in the very trade that kept her parties buzzing. Never arrested, never exposed, West's power was in her discretion. While the world saw her as a bold star who broke taboos, those in the know remember her as a woman who supplied the real escape from studio stress. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow defined the word bombshell, but her off-screen life was much messier than her platinum locks. Underneath the glamorous surface, Harlow moved in circles where fame and addiction went hand in hand. According to stories passed through Hollywood's grapevine, Harlow didn't just help friends. She ran quiet errands for those desperate for a pick-me-up, delivering amphetamines to studio dressing rooms and chic apartments. Her access was legendary, and her charm made her the perfect courier. For the struggling dancers and nervous starlets who couldn't risk being seen in a pharmacy, Harlow was the lifeline, and she rarely said no to a friend in trouble. As she rose higher, so did her ability to shield those around her. To the public, she was pure silver screen magic, but for those on the inside, Harlow was the answer to problems no studio boss would ever dare admit. Her legacy? Still sparkling, but shadowed by secrets. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum was the bad boy Hollywood couldn't tame. His sleepy-eyed swagger made him a star, but it was his off-screen choices that truly set him apart. Mitchum's infamous arrest for marijuana possession only scratched the surface of his connection to the city's shadowy side. In the jazz clubs and backlots, where the cameras couldn't follow, it was whispered that Mitchum played dealer as often as he played tough guy on screen. He supplied his musician friends with what they needed to keep the music flowing, and some said he kept his fellow actors relaxed during late-night shoots. For Mitchum, the line between rebel and supplier was paper thin. Every time the police or the press got close, he brushed them off with a grin, turning scandal into street cred. Mitchum never denied the rumors, because for him, reputation was everything. Hollywood's favorite outlaw knew how to keep a secret and a supply chain alive. Clara Bow. Clara Bow was the original it girl, radiant, rebellious, and impossible to contain. But Hollywood's favorite flapper had more to hide than her million-watt smile. When the pressures of fame and constant scrutiny closed in, Bow found ways to cope that most fans never imagined. Whispered stories say she became the go-to source for amphetamines among her friends, desperate chorus girls and jittery actors who needed to keep up with the non-stop pace. Bow's network grew fast. Her trust and charm opened doors that no studio boss could lock. She didn't run from trouble, she outsmarted it, moving supplies so quietly that even the most vigilant eyes missed it. For Clara, it was about loyalty, helping her friends and herself survive a system that chewed people up. Her legacy is pure energy on screen. But behind it all, she kept Hollywood buzzing in more ways than one. Lionel Barrymore. Lionel Barrymore was Hollywood royalty, a patriarch with enough pull to make or break careers. But what the public didn't see was his quiet knack for getting people exactly what they needed, no questions asked. It's said that Lionel became a silent savior to aging actors whose pain wouldn't let them work and who couldn't risk the scandal of a doctor's visit. His medicine chest was famous, always stocked with laudanum and the latest painkillers, and he shared it freely among his circle. Some studio veterans even joked that Barrymore's dressing room was the real heart of the lot. In an industry built on secrets, Lionel's legacy was equal parts guardian angel and quiet supplier, always there to take care of his own. The result? An enduring reputation as both a legend on screen and the man who quietly kept Hollywood's old guard on their feet, one bottle at a time. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner's life was a whirlwind of fame, glamour, and more than a little trouble. With every headline, she pushed harder against the rules, and that attitude spilled over into her private dealings. Gardner's globe-trotting lifestyle put her in the perfect position to move rare substances between continents, and insiders claim she did exactly that. Hollywood friends would look forward to her returns from Spain and Mexico, knowing Ava's suitcase carried more than souvenirs. Her gifts kept the elite crowd coming back, and her willingness to share or sell what she found abroad gave her a legendary edge in the social scene. Some say she did it for power. Others say it was just her way of controlling her own circle. Whatever the truth, Ava was never just another movie star. She was a risk-taker, a rebel, and if the stories are true, the lifeline for a generation of Hollywood's wildest partygoers. Spencer Tracy was the kind of leading man studios loved, steady, strong, and professional. But behind that classic persona, Tracy had his own way of keeping Hollywood humming. Studio drivers and behind-the-scenes staff whispered for years about his mysterious side gigs, claiming Tracy was a quiet mover of prescription drugs during tough filming schedules. When a co-star needed something to take the edge off, Tracy was said to be the one to make it happen, always with a calm nod and never a word out of place. He didn't do it for the money, not really. It was about keeping his circle in line and in good spirits. The arrangement kept him flush when roles grew scarce, but it also gave him a kind of power few ever realized. Tracy knew Hollywood's pressures, and in his own way, he made sure the show always went on, one discreet delivery at a time. George Raft made his name playing mobsters, but the truth was, he didn't have to stretch far for those roles. Raft's connections to the real underworld were a badge of honor and a survival tool. Throughout the 1930s and 1940s, his friendships with club owners and infamous figures gave him access to anything a star could want. Insiders swore Raft wasn't just a customer, he was a connector, using his nightclub empire as a front for moving cocaine and other party essentials to the city's elite. Whether you were a jazz musician in need of inspiration or a producer burning the candle at both ends, Raft could make a phone call and get you sorted, no questions asked. He never went down for anything, always too smooth, too quick. To the public, he was just a silver screen tough guy. But Hollywood insiders knew, if you needed something, you called George, just don't ask how he got it. Frances Farmer's story is one of Hollywood's greatest tragedies, but what most people don't realize is how hard she fought back against the system that crushed her. After her career was sidelined and she faced blacklisting, Farmer was forced into the city's shadow world just to survive. Rumors grew that she became a trusted supplier for old friends in need, writers, out-of-work actors, anyone desperate for a bit of relief from Hollywood's heartbreak. She moved sleeping pills and painkillers, always on the down low, always with empathy for those cast aside. Some say she did it to make ends meet, others think it was her way of staying connected to the only world she ever loved. Either way, Farmer's legacy became more than her screen roles. She was the secret source who helped others weather the storm, even as she battled her own. Mickey Rooney lived through more Hollywood eras than almost anyone, child star, leading man, and eventually comeback king. But when fortunes faded and the spotlight dimmed, Rooney's hustle never stopped. In the 1950s, as television took over and old stars scrambled for work, it was rumored that Rooney turned to selling pep pills just to keep afloat. He'd slip them to frazzled hosts, washed-up vaudevillians, and anyone else who needed to keep the show running on no sleep. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Rooney always had a grin, always a wink, and always knew how to work the system. Some say it was just about survival. Others say he liked feeling needed when the cameras stopped rolling. Either way, Mickey made sure he was never out of the game, even if it meant being Hollywood's most unlikely supplier. Dorothy Dandridge broke barriers with her talent, but Hollywood never made it easy for her. Shoved to the margins, she had to find her own ways to support herself and her friends. In the late 1950s, after being pushed aside by the studios, Dandridge became part of a hidden network providing prescription pills to black entertainers who couldn't get help through the city's regular channels. She wasn't just helping herself. She became a lifeline for musicians, dancers, and other performers who were kept at arm's length by the industry. It was dangerous work, and she never talked about it publicly, but those who benefited never forgot her. Dandridge's legacy is one of courage, grit, and generosity, even when the doors of Hollywood were closed to her. Veronica Lake's iconic peekaboo hairstyle and sultry roles made her a star, but fame came with a price. As her career spiraled and studio offers dried up, Lake found herself bouncing between cheap hotels and smoky bars. Rumors say it was during these tough years that she turned to a new kind of hustle, supplying amphetamines to down-on-their-luck actresses and late-night barflies. She used her wit, connections, and street smarts to keep a steady side income flowing, quietly helping others stay awake, alert, or just hopeful enough to chase the next gig. For Lake, it wasn't about power or glory, it was about survival. Her fall from Hollywood's grace was steep, but she never lost the grit that made her a legend, even if her name was now whispered more in backrooms than on marquees.